My name is Dennis Aweru Modhoni, and thank you for this chance to ask this question. So I only have two questions. One, you spoke about excellence, being excellent at what you do. First, they say the person who has mastery, they do not know they have mastery. So at what point do you know that you have, at what point do you know that you are excellent, like actually excellent? How much excellent is excellence, for lack of a better word? The other question, allow me to speak about vision, space where you position yourself in the right spaces, and also the aspect of mentorship. Allow me to use an example of myself, and this is a friend of mine here. We're building a unicorn in 5 years. So you find that when it comes to positioning yourself in spaces of people who have actually built unicorns, it's not there. So you do not, what many people do when they're building a business, they find a person who has done it, and then they walk in their footsteps and they're able to get there. But what happens when you have no one who has gone through that path, and you are trying now to go through that path yourself? And also about getting it from the first step, like from the foundation. How do you structure it very well so that along the way you're able to get things right? Yes, because you're building a unicorn, and in Kenya there is actually no unicorn, so there is no actually like a path to follow. And also the environment in Kenya, being that places like in the States, a lot of people have built unicorns in such that when someone is coming up to build a unicorn, it's actually easier for them because they can be able, their environment actually allows that. But in Kenya, when you go and speak to someone about unicorn, they'll actually say, oh, you're dreaming big. They actually motivate you. But in that level, you do not need motivation. You need a certain direction. Yes, so that's my question.
Dennis, you're deep. Friend, when do you know that you have achieved excellence? My simple answer to you, you'll never achieve it. There is no rest when it comes to excellence. Excellence is a journey more than a destination, because we must define excellence not from our perspective, but from the perspective of the customer. The one we are adding value to is the customer. Unfortunately and fortunately, the customer is constantly changing. Just when you think you've delivered the very best, the customer gets one more insight and they're like, what if? What if this could be done? I would experience this particular product even better. So excellence is a dance. You must dance to respond to the customer needs for that day. But your excellence for yesterday will certainly not be adequate for your excellence tomorrow. So you need to be on your toes as a business. Excellence needs to be a culture, because there is no way you will ever arrive at excellence and stay there. What do you do? How do you build a unicorn business? A business that has never been there before? I think it is in very rare occasions that we come up with ideas where nobody else has ever had those ideas. It's in very rare occasions. And if you're looking at Kenya and you don't find such a business in Kenya, then you need to expand your boundaries. Where else? Go to SA, there are amazing things going on out there. You just need to look harder. First of all, challenge that assumption that you are the unicorn or you are the first time producer of whatever you're trying to produce. Try to challenge it, not to challenge your ideas or to dilute your ideas, but to find somebody you can learn from. Even if you don't find the exact thing, you will find something that is close to it, that with one more thing, it becomes your idea. The other thing is, God has given us an ability called imagination, which is the one thing that we thoroughly underestimate. Everything that you see, including what is happening right now at this moment, has first of all been birthed in an imagination. So That gives us a very unique ability as human beings to explore and to question and to arrive at something that we are so convicted of that we look like we are crazy, So what I'd say is, how farther down the lane of imagination have you traveled with this unicorn idea? The farther you travel, the more it becomes a reality. And then now you're able to put together, what processes do I need? How will my pitch deck look like? What will my customer look like? How will we reach the customer? All those things around the business, they start becoming a possibility. So that even when you're engaging others, you're engaging from a point of very deep convictions. The third thing I'd say, and the last thing, is the greatest wealth is people. Our biggest pitfall whenever we are doing business is to imagine that business in our mind and to want to surprise everybody by keeping it a secret. So that one day I will arise and I'll be the most wealthy Kenyan that surprise ends up being a surprise on ourselves. Engage trustworthy people. Call solo. Tell solo. I have a crazy idea. Can you challenge this idea? Can you help me to explore this idea? Am I crazy? Talk to people. The more you talk to people, the more your insights come. The more you get convinced. The more you understand your own idea better. The more they send you to somebody else who you really did not know, but you really need that person. The greatest wealth is with people.
Well said. I'm not sure there's much I can add to that. And thank you for considering me to be trustworthy. I would say, in terms of excellence, I would be a bit contrarian to the saying that you quoted, that a master of excellence never knows that they're excellent, or something of the sort. I disagree. A master will know that they're a master. But I think the point is, excellence, like Pius says, is a journey. A true master will know that they have more to learn than they have learned so far. Someone used to say that the more you learn, or the more you know, the more you realize you really don't know. Because it's infinite. And that's why excellence is a journey. It's not a destination. And I love to study the Japanese, Kaizen culture that the Japanese, I think Toyota is who invented the Kaizen. And the Americans sort of paraphrased it, as they typically do, to mean a constant and never-ending improvement. So when you've set the bar, Mercedes-Benz is actually famous for this. I think they actually did this before Toyota, but Toyota has scaled that culture in a way that is difficult for anyone else to replicate. I actually had one person say that they were working in the research and development department of some corporate. I don't remember which one. And they had an exchange interaction with Toyota. And I think it was GM, R&D. GM, he says right now, GM has created products, working ones, that you will not see in the market for 10 to 15 years, because the market is not even ready for them. Like cutting edge technology, crazy materials, sci-fi type stuff, right? And that's something. But then when he went to Toyota, he realized those guys have products that we will not see for 100 years. That's how far ahead. They're designing products for a civilization that will live 100 years from now. One might even say that they must be using witchcraft because it's so out there. How do they know what the market will want or need in 100 years from now? Like, how do you even imagine that? And going back to Pius' point, imagination. That's how it's done in a different realm before it appears here. And that's a science, actually. You can perfect that on a regular basis, something you can practice. if you're a Christian like us, you believe the part of the scripture where God says, I knew you before you were knitted in your mother's womb. God imagined you, everything about you, before you even existed. And as his image and likeness, we operate exactly the same way. It's just that we don't practice it as a discipline. And it's very important. And in that process, you then realize excellence is a constant of, okay, fine, I'm the best today. I'll see if we can find that ad. Mercedes-Benz did a short ad / documentary about how they came up with an innovation on their headlights that the rest of the market did not see for 25 years after, because no one could figure out the technology they use. Even wipers, the automatic wiper that is common now, these guys have had it since the 50s. And they said that they realized at some point they were the best, they were the bar, and there was no one else to benchmark against. So they started benchmarking against themselves and said, okay, now we are the bar. By this time next year, we need to increase it. Fine, no one else has caught up. Do we need to? It's expensive. Why bother? Let's just sell what we have because we're the best. But no, they said excellence is constant and never-ending improvement. I think that's a mindset that whoever made that quote was trying to communicate. But you will know when you're the best, then therefore you have to benchmark on yourself or against yourself and make sure you improve on your last innovation. You're not improving on someone else's innovation, you're improving on yours because yours is the best. You have to be conscious enough to know that yours is the best. Therefore, you are the master at the moment. But you can't rest on your laurels. You have to constantly push. That's one. Question on the unicorn. I'd be curious to understand why you call it a unicorn, number one. My understanding of a unicorn, and I could be wrong, but the reason they use that term unicorn because unicorns are supposedly fictitious creatures, creatures from another realm that are not necessarily material. The reason we use that term is because the company valuations are extremely high and profitability never matches valuation. In many cases, they're not even profitable. Tesla has not made a profit. It's the world's most capitalized business, most valuable business in the world, at least for some period last year, which shot Elon Musk's net worth to over, $340 billion. Tesla has not made a single dollar in profits. So, in my view, that's a definition of a unicorn. Is that really the goal you want to go for? Because in my view, I don't think your goal should be achieving $1 billion valuation as much as it should be actually solving problems that the market is happy to pay you for. Your valuation is an automatic byproduct of revenues, market sentiment, and that sort of thing. But that's a philosophical debate. It's one I have regularly with a few people. We have a few examples locally, considered Kenyan versions of unicorns. Their valuations are crazy, but they don't make any money. No investor has been paid dividends. It's the founder who has sold shares and bought houses and cars. They're the only ones who benefited. So I think it needs to be holistic. You need to think about your stakeholders. Number one is your customer, then your shareholders, as opposed to achieving this big valuation that gives you financial gain without benefiting the other stakeholders. But I think if your innovation is scalable to that degree, that's amazing. Just focus on making it the best possible service delivery. And $1 billion is nothing in 5 years. If you're looking at Kenya, Africa now is 1.2, 1.3 billion people. So automatically you need to be in Europe, If I was you, I'd try to get to China before anywhere else, because then you achieve that target in exactly 2.3 seconds. But then if your solution is viable, then you don't even need to worry about the valuation aspect. That would be my humble opinion and advice to you guys as you start. Just make your solution excellent. Make sure the customer is fighting to be on your platform or consume your service to the point where it's necessary. I think about M-Pesa today. M-Pesa is considered a national security issue. The M-Pesa is down for an hour, our GDP grinds to a halt. So at some point, it might even warrant government stepping in and saying, this thing is too important to our national stability. We need to have certain controls in place. A business at that scale of such import and impact on people's daily experiences, that's really what you want, as especially in the tech space, right? You want to become a necessity, not an opt-in. And if that happens, issues of valuation are neither here nor there. You'll be beating money away, and everyone is happy.
And it's good to test the spirit. Are you starting a unicorn to be the wealthiest guys in the room, or are you starting a unicorn to solve a really massive problem? It's so important to test that. What is the motivation? There is a book that I recommend you read. It's called the $1 Billion Startups, and I'll just give you a very summarized view on that book. The author was trying to understand, why is it that some startups, they start and they explode into success, and why is it that many others actually fail? And he was testing, is it because of the brilliance of the idea? Is it the brilliance of the team? Is it the execution? Is it the capital? Is it the team? And the sixth one was, is it the timeliness? And the results were outstanding. 47% reasons why startups failed or succeeded was because of timeliness. And that's not what they expected to be the outcome. Because there are many businesses with good capital, good idea, good teams, the very best. But guess what? They were just slightly ahead of their time. And others were just slightly behind their time. Apple is not the business that it was 20 years ago. Microsoft is not the same business. Amazon is not the same business. Goshen is not the same business. Nabo is not the same business. There is a process that life just seems to take you through, and it will take you to explosive success. But timeliness is the one thing that we don't have control over. But when you bring an idea whose time has come, like M-Pesa, its idea had come. It was just in good time. But if M-Pesa came to this country when we had enough, everybody had a credit card and everything, guess what? Its time would have passed. Pay attention to these things, but approach your business as a student rather than as a master. It will teach you a lot, and it will make you the master.
Thank you so much for watching and tuning in and being part of this conversation. You have been watching The Tea with Pius and Solo. See you next time.